Why did you give up on moving to the US? Well, a bit like the previous question, it's a bit like multiple reasons. But mostly it has to do with, and for those that didn't know, I started the United States Medical License Examination, which is the accreditation process to make your diploma accredited in the United States and become a medical doctor in the United States. I intended to pursue residency in general surgery there. But mostly it has to do with not feeling very welcome. You see, there are more than 200 countries and jurisdictions in the world. I've seen a few of them, not that many, but enough to have an idea of how things work. And in many countries where I've been, people are like, welcome to our country. And then, for example, in some countries like the United States or the United Kingdom, people are like, in the customs, well, how long are you going to stay? Where are you going to stay? What's the purpose of your travel? What are you doing? Are you carrying something? It's like, I don't want to answer that. Those are personal questions. That's private information. And you can argue that I have to answer that because I want to get in the country, but that's exactly the point. Why? Why not just choose another easier country? And the United States is particularly bad for us Brazilians because to even visit, we need a visa. Now, I've had the American visa. I've had 2 American visas, each with a duration of 10 years. So overall, I've been allowed to visit the United States for 20 years, and I've been to the United States. But I let my last visa expire, for example, my tourist visa, because it is a paid service. It's not like super cheap, and it takes a lot of time and effort. You have to get a lot of documents, and you have to schedule an appointment at the consulate or embassy, and you go there first time to get a photograph taken, and then you get to go there a second time for the interview, and you have to take your documents, and you have to explain what you want to do. And it's such a bureaucratic and Byzantine process. Meanwhile, there are other countries, for example, and I've been to a few of them, but there are other countries I have not been. But I believe perhaps the best example in the world is the country of Georgia, for example, in the Caucasus, where you can stay up to a year, or at least that's what I've heard. Don't take my advice on it. If you are traveling there, please check with someone with more knowledge. But you can stay for upwards of a year there without any need for a visa. And then you have, for example, the United States, where if you want to merely do a flight connection in the United States, like you're going to Canada and you will connect in the United States, you need to have a visa. Why would I put myself through that? And for immigration, it's even harder. Now, don't get me wrong, of course, I'm not so idealistic. If I get, like, for example, an invitation to speak at an American conference and the pay is good, yes, I'm most likely going to get a 3rd visa for the United States, and I'm going to take the offer. But overall, for example, if you're choosing a place to visit, I've had my luggage checked, searched in the airport once until nowadays. It was in the United States. I've been checked using chemicals twice for contact with explosive or drugs at the airport. One of them was in the United States. So it's just harder. The sensation I get is that I'm not welcome there. And there are so many countries around the world that will like roll the red carpet for you or for me. You want to come live with us? You want to bring your money and expertise? Welcome, we'll be happy to have you. And yet we keep trying to go to the one country that doesn't want us, that's really not trying to make things easier. So overall, that's a general explanation. I started the idea of going to the United States particularly because I thought I was going to get a very good surgical education there. But once I decided I was no longer going to pursue a traditional medical career, I thought again and I reevaluated the countries available to me. and I came to the conclusion that the United States is not worth of my effort. And don't get me wrong, I don't mean I don't want to put an effort. I will definitely put an effort into moving to a country. For example, learning the language. For example, in 2008 I visited France and I decided to learn French. Et donc j'ai décidé d'apprendre le français. Et aujourd'hui je parle français. C'est pas du bon français pour faire des présentations médicales dans une conférence, mais ça suffit pour des choses du jour à jour. And also, for example, in 2019, I visited the United Arab Emirates and I decided to learn Arabic. And لا أعرف كل شيء باللغة العربية. But I've been learning, I've been trying to learn, so I'm getting better. And I will definitely make an effort to learn the language of a country I'm moving to. Just not to comply with bureaucracy. I will definitely put an effort into learning the language and learning the culture, but I'm not willing to put an effort to comply with bureaucracy. If you are trying to make things hard for me, then it's probably not the best choice. Like Andrew Henderson used to say, go where you're treated best.